Keep on top
We
of
never
it.
did get a copy of,
Road and
bid
maybe
notes.
our bridge will be good.
Picture.
Leave us an old bridge town
Maybe
map.
next
This is my
year.
file.
Maybe
Right,
next
right.
year.
Maybe next
Maybe
year.
One of these days,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna start
Well,
getting
look
up
at that,
those
look at
fucking
that.
cars.
Even we don't sit there.
Actually,
They only serve drinks, they only serve
I
drinks,
didn't need to make a file with bills, right? So I
They don't
know what I
serve
put in
drinks
the
in
file.
Leesville, but they,
That would be a nice thing to have.
How's it smell?
really good.
I actually did
Yeah, I
this
got
one.
questions, that's good. Right up, I got a chance to sign. Okay,
I
yeah.
used to have one.
I'm asking you.
I've got, I think that's some information regarding the variance and stuff, so. There's a lot.
Oh,
I thought it was sweet. I just woke up, I saw
oh,
my God.
planning board.
It was like 10 to 7.
Testing, 7:03
Sound.
PM, November 5th, Board of Selectmen meeting.
I thought it was just like 6:59, this one says 7:40. We need to get them in sync, otherwise that would. Okay.
The email that we sent with the.
No, I can get it. You guys want to do it in minutes?
With the weights from recycling and all that. I just got it, and then
Oh, so they may be at home running,
yeah,
which I find like 4 o'clock, 4:30.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Good evening, folks. We're gonna call the meeting to order at 7:04, according to this clock. I don't know, what is it really? 7:03. So, that's alright, the clock in the office is said like 6:59, and this was 7:03, so we apologize on our tardiness. We're absent one selectman, Ted Values, and recording secretary, so we're taping it for tonight. Minutes will be generated off of that. You want to go get an email and off we go. You got minutes if you.
Yep.
So come.
okay. I make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from Thursday, October 29th as written.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
I don't think so, no.
I think she did a pretty good job considering it was
Yeah,
wide open
noisy,
like that.
yeah.
Noisy, so. All in favor then?
I'll say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen non-public meeting minutes from Thursday, November 29th.
I'll second that.
And I'll also make a motion that these minutes be sealed.
Yeah, we already did.
Did we do that?
Yep. And this,
Back at the, is it in there?
it's on this one here.
Yeah, I remember doing it. I remember having,
Motion, Brian Pike made a motion that Dunbarton Board of Selectmen seal the minutes of the non-public meeting of October 29th, 2015 until March 31st, 2016. You seconded it.
Yep.
Yes, so.
okay, cool. Did you second this?
I believe I did, if not, I'll second it.
Okay,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. We have sealed minutes. Persons of absence.
This is their one. The subject says MOU, but I think it's this information down here.
Yes it is. Thank you, Wade.
Sorry,
It's okay.
catch you. Thank you, ma'am. Still, Ted and Allison didn't sign them because they're obviously absent today, so.
Yeah, this is the majority.
Alrighty. So now we're good for minutes. All set?
Yeah, I'm just figuring out something.
You all set? What are you, first on the list? What you got, Glenn?
Good luck.
What I just handed you guys is a bill of lading request that, the NRA, let me just back to Troy up a little bit. In 2008, DES put out a paper regarding mercury, and, it's been in play about not shipping mercury to the landfills and to the trash and that sort of thing. Well, this is stemmed off from that with our scrap metal company. My understanding is that Schnitzer just got a major fine and had to do with mercury. How that affects us is they no longer are gonna accept our scrap metal, nor is the NRA gonna give us a release number to send our scrap metal to them unless we sign off on this document every time we take a load in that says that there's no mercury in there. As soon as this document came across, this was pretty quick right off the bat. I mean, I received it in an email on Friday, which I actually read it Saturday, and it said effective Sunday, November 1st. So basically, we had it for 2 days. My concern is that, one, is how quick it happened. So I started looking into it a little bit. The questions came when I went to the scrapyard today with a different load of material.
Yeah.
And I see their sign says November 15th, this bill of lading is effective. That we'll have to have every time. My issue is that I'm not signing any documents that might put the liability to the town in any respect without the Board of Selectmen's approval of signing this document. When I tried to apply, explain this to the NRA, I basically got nowhere with them.
No.
Their manager, he and I had a long conversation on the phone, and basically, he said his hands were tied, they forced him to sign the document. I said, well, my Board of Selectmen, I'm not signing the document till they see it, till they give it their blessing.
Yep.
And I said, and furthermore, they might even want legal counsel to look at this, cause I don't know, when I ask the questions of what's the town's liability gonna be on this, should we find mercury in a load? Should it actually get in there? What's the town's liability? What is gonna happen? They couldn't answer it.
Sure wouldn't.
So where would the mercury come from, Woody? Just,
I have a 33-page document on.
yeah, I'm trying to think, just, cause you're talking about the scrap metal bit,
It
so
could
I'm thinking
be
about what's going in there that's.
Switches, thermostats, you name it.
Right, light fixtures, and like I explained to him, we've been proactive with that anyway, since it came out in 2008. Light bulbs, ballast, we don't send, not that ballasts have mercury, but we don't send any ballast in our scrap metal.
Well, how do you know that they're not in there though? Cause that bin is open to all of us and
Right, we
you can chuck
periodically
whatever.
watch those dumpsters.
So it's just
anyway.
checking,
Right.
eyeballing it.
And, the major ones that we knew about, like, what I say, was your thermostats and that sort of thing.
Batteries.
If they're lead acid.
Oh,
The big issue that is coming out now is that it's in washing machines.
Yep.
It's in gas ranges. It's in, actually I got a list here, trying to remember.
Well, anytime you have like a
switch.
door switch.
Any kind of a
right,
switch.
yeah, exactly.
Chest
Temporary
freezers,
switch.
and the sump pumps and village pumps, we always cut them off anyways, we cut the cord, then the other part we do in electronics. My concern is signing the document and then finding out, hey,
you missed something.
something was missing, especially when they couldn't tell me what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen, are they gonna reject the town load, is the town gonna be charged, what's gonna happen, no one could give me an answer.
So we don't know what is this 310 CMR 74.4, what is that?
The way
It's in
I,
Massachusetts, so.
Is it?
and the way I read that, down the bottom in a real fine print, it
Yeah, I
seems
know,
to have to
it's-
do with cars. We don't do.
It's not like auto lamps and backlighting for dashboards.
Yeah, anything where you, the motion is involved, like when you open up your hood,
Yeah,
It's a
that'd be a
Mercury
Mercury
switch.
switch, yeah.
exactly.
You know, and a lot of the stuff, and it gives dates to where, you know, things will change, and that's in this document that myself and my staff will be reading and going through and to make sure that, you know, we're all familiar with it. Like I said, my concern was signing a document without the board seeing it and getting your blessing on signing the
Well,
document.
in essence, I mean, the first paragraph is a bunch of information and blah, blah, blah. The only sentence that really applies, it says, I certify that mercury components have been removed from this load of light iron and or vehicles. And you can certify it to the best of your ability, but I mean,
Right,
you're
like
gonna be
that-
100% certain, the only way you can do that is if you don't bring anything to
Well,
them.
I got a couple questions. This company we're dealing with, they're a Massachusetts company?
Yes, there are.
So they're hauling our stuff into Mass, or they, or is this here
It
in
goes,
Hampshire?
we haul it into Concord,
Yeah.
they're
They're all over.
they're all over the
They
place.
got one on,
Well, the reason I ask, I see 781 numbers here, and Massachusetts customers, and
Yeah, they're in
So I was
Mass, they're
wondering-
all over the place,
Are
they're
they?
all over the United States. It's a huge, huge company.
okay.
And, probably 4 or 5 years ago, they went through and bought up a bunch of the smaller companies.
Yep.
They got one on 155 in Dover, I've been by that. They
Yeah,
got
they're
one in
all
Concord, used to be
Manchester.
Cohen Steel.
They're Claremont, I think they bought.
Yeah,
the
Robin,
Claremont.
used to be Robin, it's
Yeah.
Manchester, now it's Smithers.
I mean, if you guys are okay with me signing this document, don't wanna look any further, you know,
Well,
don't feel we
I
need to
guess-
look any further,
Oh, I
I'm
mean,
fine with that.
well, we need to be vigilant regarding that.
Yeah, but my concern is that, once again,
Mhm.
you start signing,
And
what's the
what do you say?
liability
That's
down
a
the road, you know?
Question.
That, yeah, we need to know what that would be, I mean, what are they gonna do, make you take the load back, or are you gonna charge you for it, but I mean, how do they know it came from you?
Exactly,
Because
there was a lot of ifs there, a lot of
Because
what
when you
ifs.
start throwing that stuff out in the pile, it's like, how do you know it came from Dunbarton?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
could've came from,
Exactly. Like I said, my concern is signing the document without
right,
you guys looking at it
Mhm.
first.
Yeah.
If you're okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
the other issue is I tried to put across to them is, hey, you give us no warning on this, no time. I said, I have 2 loads of scrap metal sitting down there that I can't
that's
move.
them being reactive, cause they got,
Right,
They
'cause they
got
got
slapped.
whacked.
Right.
But they also haven't told us what the penalty is if we should,
yeah, I
you
don't know that.
dump something, so I think that's kinda,
Exactly, what's the consequence? Also, my, concern is training for you guys, so you know what to look for.
Yeah, we
Are
have,
they offering any, I mean, besides giving you some
we're supposed to
paperwork?
be meeting, at our next mall meeting, which is a monthly meeting with them. We're supposed to be talking with Schnitzer to find out what's gonna happen, what's up and coming, cause DES is involved in this and
Oh, yeah,
nobody knows what's going on.
well, I mean, I can understand, I mean, to make it a little bit easier and more palatable to sign, I think we should be offering some training
yeah.
to
well,
you guys, you know, and all the employees that are gonna
Right.
be dealing with us, so that way you have some, you know, knowledge in what you're doing. You know, before you say, well, is that mercury, not mercury, and you know,
Right, this document that I printed off, like I said, it's 33 pages, really self-explanatory, shows you where to look for
well,
it.
that's good.
You know, once me and my guys go over this, go through it,
Good.
you know, for the time being, anything that we question, we're gonna just leave outside the dumpster, washing machines, we'll leave them outside the dumpster. All our refrigerators and freons, we have another, we're getting ready to have them pumped again.
Yeah.
We'll have to go through all them, you know, we're gonna have to check date codes.
Yeah, 'cause they could have mercury switches, 'cause some of those things, if they fall over, they shut off.
Yeah, there's and it tells you in here, that's why I say it's gonna be, I told each one of the guys, we'll give them a copy, we'll go through it, read it.
Yep.
And, you know, we're gonna work on it ourselves and hopefully someone's, you know, at the mall meeting, I'll definitely mention, hey, you're gonna have some kind of training on this.
So when is that meeting going?
Not for 2 weeks, I believe is what he
So
told
it's in
me.
November.
It's in November, they usually have one once a month, and then there's several months that they don't because of holidays and that sort of
Where are
thing.
we on our lotus, or our steel pile anyway, I mean, is it like?
I've got 2 loads sitting there, there's one in the dumpster, and there's probably close to another one sitting on the ground.
Okay, so we haven't got rid of them yet.
Because actually, I tried, I've called a couple other vendors, I could have through one vendor, but you're talking, I'm gonna go almost 3 times the distance, and I'm gonna get paid half as much money, so I'm
Don't
gonna
they
get
come pick it
cents.
up?
Huh?
Why don't they come pick it up?
They will come pick it up. They're gonna charge us to come pick it up, so it's gonna even cost us more. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, you know. You were talking, and steel's not a lot of money right now.
Right.
If we could get it into Concord, it's 65. If I had to haul it, which had been looking at Northwood, it's $30 a ton.
Harding.
Harding, yeah. And who's to say that they're not, everybody's gonna have to comply with this. Um,
But until they get slapped, they're gonna probably be a little bit more lenient.
In my understanding, in the scheme of things, eventually all the material ends up in Schnitzer's yard, eventually, cause they're the big dog, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. They don't want to send it to China.
So, like I said, I mean, if you're okay with me signing the document, I have no problem doing it, and we'll get the loads out of there and get it cleaned up, but
Now, how do you, just asking, cause I
Yeah.
don't understand how it all gets separated up, that bin is everything. So do you have to separate that out, or does it just go as it is?
no, when I go in there, that area I pull over, I untar, you have to go around, go up on the scales, get weighed. You tell them what you have.
And ours is a mix.
Yeah, they call it light iron, it's basically like number 2,
Yeah.
because it's not clean metal.
Yeah.
They call it number 2 light iron. You drive over to, they call it the apron, or the pad, actually the pad. You go over there, the guy shows you where to dump. After you spread your load out, he comes over, one of their representatives, they have to sign off on your ticket. They look through the load, sign off that it was light iron, you go back around, you reweigh, they print you another scale ticket, you sign the scale ticket that you brought the material there, then they give you a copy of the scale ticket and you're on your way.
They send us a check.
And then through the NRA, because they have to have their piece, 30 to 60 days later, they do their processing and then they cut us a check and
Gotcha.
send the check to the town.
Gotcha.
Now, that big packet you have there, do you have that in soft copy too, or is it just?
I actually do have it on my computer,
Good. Yeah.
so I can forward it to you if
Yeah.
you want it.
No, not that I wanted it forwarded, but I was just thinking that, it might be a good thing to have in soft copy
Yep.
on your PC there, so that, you know, cause that's gonna get lost over time.
Oh, yeah, no, it's on the computer, I
Yeah.
printed this off, so I don't think I just wanna take it home and read it, or,
Yeah,
whatever, I brought it home so I can start reading it.
and fall asleep on page 3.
Yeah, I slept in my chair.
Yeah.
Most probably.
Do you wanna put it in a binder or anything?
No, I've got stuff down here, I can do it up.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't have a problem with Woody signing this document, Brian, except that we just don't know what the consequences are if we
Yeah.
dump something. Whether you sign this or not, what are the consequences?
Right, that's what, like I said, my big concern was that I would sign a document not knowing the liability to the town. You know, that was my big thing, huh? I don't wanna sign a document, then the other things you guys looking at, you know?
Well, all you're doing
Appreciate
here,
that.
all we're asking here, or they're asking, is that you certify.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, I look in the bin, yeah, I certify there isn't anything, and,
I'd almost augment it and say I certify to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
That mercury, you know,
yeah,
because,
put proof for,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I was looking for, is get your approval on
Yeah,
it.
I mean, we gotta get the stuff out of there.
Yeah.
They're gonna have you sign this every single load?
I understand, and every
Yeah,
trip we
that's
go
what-
in, we have to sign it, we have to sign a copy every, to go with, they're based, cause it's a bill of lading.
Right.
So they're gonna, I'm sure they'll have a file with our name on it.
Right.
That'll be in there.
Yeah, and if we get bagged on something, then we'll don't have to figure that out.
Well, I mean, whoever's checking the load and signs off on it, once they do that, then, as far as
They
I'm
can return
concerned,
it over to them.
it becomes theirs. If they sign off on it and they don't point out any mercury then they own it, as far as
Yeah,
I
once
would
they've
argue.
signed off on the document, yeah,
we sign off on this, we bring it there, you drop it, and they sign off saying they accept it.
yeah,
Then it becomes their problem, because
Yeah, and I
their
think-
person took it.
cause once you pull off out of that place, how do you know
Right.
that your load didn't get mixed with the next guy's or vice versa?
Exactly.
Well, like I said, no, then they take it, they push it in a big heap.
I would think that when they have it spread out on that apron,
That's what I'm
that they're eyeballing it for potential issues.
Right, they look for other things in there as well that aren't supposed to be in there, propane tanks, that kind of thing.
We would never do that.
Use it in target practice.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. So if you're good with that, I'm good with it. The other thing I wanted to let you know is, hopefully, I've been in touch with the state 3-4 times now on our waste oil grant that we filed back in 2014, which we still haven't gotten paid for. All our paperwork's in. I got a hold of the gentleman. He was under a misunderstanding that we didn't have our paperwork in, all our paperwork's in. He emailed me today and assured me that we should have a check for $2,500 by the end of this month. And he said if we don't have it, contact him again and we'll find out what's going on. So that's where the grandstands, like I said, I've been after him, and this is where it's led up to, finally. The other thing, I checked on that, the waste oil, getting paid for waste oil. I spoke to the company themselves, that's kind of an interesting deal.
This is one through the state
Yes.
arrangement?
Yes. Basically, what he told me today is I emailed him last week, and I called him at the beginning of this week, and he got in touch with me today. He said that we are not eligible for that.
Since when?
He said the deal with that is that it was set up for state DOT buildings that change their own oil for, that, it must be your DOT
Yep.
garages. He said,
Who did you talk to?
his name is Mike, I got it on my computer, I saved his contact
Yeah,
information.
He let me know because I talked to the purchasing agent that set up that contract, and it says right in it, it's for all political
Right.
subdivisions.
He told me that,
If he's not gonna honor it, then and then what'll happen, the purchasing agent will just pull the contract.
he told me that, to date, they've only picked up a couple hundred gallons from the state. He
Yeah,
said,
they burn
and
most of their own.
what happens with that, he says, even if we did pay you for it, that money won't go to the town. That money will go to the state fund.
No.
So I'm just telling you what he told me,
Yeah,
that it's
he's-
allocated for a state fund.
No.
I said, okay,
If you
whatever.
can get, I'd appreciate it, give me his name and number, and, I'll have a chat with the purchasing agent as well, because, I've already talked to our purchasing agent, and they, like, the whole idea was for, is for the state, but also for towns, counties, municipalities to take advantage of it, and do the exact same thing, they come and get the oil, they cut us a check, everybody's happy.
He, I'll get you his number, and I scheduled a pickup with him, cause my tank is just about full, I can't hang on to it.
That's all right.
We don't have a,
What's
used
the-
oil fired furnace in the town building,
So, and he did tell me that other towns have contacted him on that as well, is what he told me, I can't remember his last name. The other thing is, the pickup truck, I know that's a sore subject. We have a pretty decent exhaust leak on it. The manifold on the driver's side, there's 8 studs that hold that manifold on. 5 out of the 8 studs are broken. So it's only a matter of time before the other 3 studs break off and the truck will be out of commission until you fix it or whatever happens with it.
got an idea what it costs to repair?
About $700. $500 to $700 is what they're telling me, because the bolts, and Brian, I'm quite sure is familiar with this, they broke off inside the head.
And you draw them.
They gotta drill them,
Oh, yeah.
pull them out.
Yeah,
And
pull it head, one or the other.
he said you're looking at the manifold is rotted. He said, so that's what you're looking at. So
What do you use that truck for?
we use it for everything.
Why?
Currently we do all the trash pickup in town buildings, not residents, town buildings. We haul recyclable material with it to scrap yards. We use it to go to meetings, classes, we use it around the facility. I'd actually I'll sit down and can do you a whole list of what that
Yeah.
truck,
That'd
that
be
truck's
good.
assisted the police department, it's worked with the fire department.
Is that a four-wheel driver?
It's full drive,
It is.
yeah. You name it, we pretty much have done most everything.
Hey, probably have to create a list of
Yeah.
all of those things, as small as they are, some of
Yeah.
them. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to know what,
Yeah, when, like you say,
Where it gets
recyclables, the scrap yards, and if you could, like, whether it's paper, plastic,
No, yeah,
metals.
most of the time it's your non-ferrous metals, it's your copper, it's your brass, it's your aluminum, it's your electric motors, it's your copper wire.
it's stuff that's not going in that big
It's the
dumpster.
stuff that's not going in the dumpster. It's just for a rough estimate, last year, that material, batteries is another one, it's used for household hazardous waste day. Somewheres around, I'm thinking it was about $10,000 worth of recycled material hauled with that pickup. I'll double check the numbers, but
Mhm.
it seems to me, when I did the 2015 numbers, it was around 10,000, something like that. Dollars worth of material that was hauled in that truck.
that to set up our old home day trash and
Yes.
Yeah,
bins and
it's,
stuff
we
like
should
that?
record all of it.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
we pick parts up with it, it does everything. When the big truck has to go in the shop, somebody takes that truck to come get me, pick me back out.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I'll get something done up in the next week or so.
Yeah, I mean, I would do it before the end of the year, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
for budget season, we
Yeah,
would
I'll
need
get
it,
that done.
yeah.
Something to think about for budget season.
What else does that truck need before we shift gears?
Well, I don't
Good
know.
for tires?
We put a lot of money into it the last couple of years.
No, I know, but I'm just
Tires are
asking,
good on it.
some other normal maintenance, what is
The only other thing that's acting up on it right now is the gauge cluster. All the gauges are working, but the light that shows your indicator and your mileage, it's still tracking the mileage, but that light,
Doesn't light up.
those lights have gone out. They come on, they
Gotcha.
go out.
Yeah.
The only sad part is if you can't see it, you try and estimate what your mileage is when you fuel up, cause I document my mileage when I fuel up, that's all documented.
Yeah,
Services, oil changes, that kind of thing's all, is all documented with the mileage. I don't know, I have a friend who's really good with, he actually fixed my gauge cluster in my pickup, and he's willing to take a look at it. He'll do it for free for me, take a look at it and see what the issue is, see if it's something that's major or not, I don't know. It might be just something as simple as one of the little connectors on the back, it's all like a computer board
yeah,
on the
oh,
back.
yeah,
Something could have come unsoldered,
sure.
cause it's intermittent.
Could be a bulb, just plain bulb.
Well, if it's intermittent, it's probably a
I
switch,
don't know if those have
Or
or even
Yeah,
the
they
certain
bulbs.
panel that it sits on could be.
It's got a bulb, it's a 194 bulb.
Is that?
Yeah.
I'll have to
And
look at it.
if the element is somewhat broken, it can, flex back and forth and make contact.
'Cause I know you have to,
contact.
pull the whole cluster out.
Yep,
'Cause I did mine on my pickup, and I had to put a whole.
yeah, there's dogs to get to,
Done by many of them.
yeah, good too. So, before we move off the truck, what do we wanna do?
But you can stew on it if you want, it's not gonna die today, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that if, that is the potential. There's 5 studs broken off, 3 are holding the manifold.
It's all on one side of the engine.
It's
What
on
year is
one
that
side.
beast? That's a 2000.
2000, and it has roughly 139,500 something miles.
139. That's a what, a K20?
It's 2,500. It's not the HD. Didn't have the HDs in 2000.
139,000.
Next, thank you.
Next, the other thing that we need to think about, vacation for me. As you know, I lost a person. So, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take the rest of my vacation. I plan to take a week in November and a week in December. But, only having 2 guys, I can't have 2 guys down there at that facility.
2 guys.
I'll have 2 guys during the day, that's it.
Oh.
So, I don't know how we wanna handle this. I'm trying to take Saturdays. I'm trying to get some coverage for Saturdays. It's not working too good so far. I put the feeler out there. There are 2 guys I spoke to are gonna get back to me on what days they can do. Cause I have basically 72 hours left. Plus we have a holiday coming up next week. I'm trying to get someone to come in and cover that holiday. Other than that, we may have to bend the
Well,
rules a
it's
little
on a
bit.
Wednesday.
We're open Wednesday.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll be
till
open,
we
it's a
open up
holiday.
the holiday?
Our timers don't get holidays.
I understand that, but I mean,
We don't close for nothing.
In
Never
the
have.
past, you never closed on, no, even though the rest of the town was shut down?
We never
Really?
close.
That's interesting.
We never
I've
close.
never gone on a holiday because I assume they're closed.
Me either, well, I don't get the day off, so I.
We're, the only time we've actually closed would be if Thanksgiving doesn't, but if Christmas it falls on an open day, or New Year's falls on an open day, or July 4th, but other than that, we're open, especially during the week. We don't
Well, I
close.
closed last year around Christmas.
If Christmas was on a holiday, we closed.
No, I remember, I thought we did something, we did, a different schedule last year. I have to check the minutes, but.
What it was the guys, I remember it came in as New Year's, Christmas, and Thanksgiving. It was the eve of, because the holiday was on a Thursday, if I remember correctly. And it came out that, the question came up whether or not we were staying open. Well, we never really closed for any of them except for maybe Christmas. The guys wanted to stay open, and the crewmen came to a decision that they would work Eve before Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve, before New Year's,
Right.
and they would not work Christmas Eve. So that they had Christmas Eve and that off, and that was okay with the board of selectmen, it was okay for them. Cause they're big, and I don't blame them, the big concern is that when they're closed, they don't get paid.
No.
Some of these guys, they have families, and some of them, this is the only work that they have, and they gotta work when they can work, kind of thing. Like I said, I gave them the option last year, you tell me what you wanna do, I'll bring it to the board. That's what the guys said, well, we need to think about this, and then I brought it back to them, they came up and said, you could tell them that you wanna work all of them. They asked what was, what could happen to them, I said, well, they could tell us that you're not gonna work any of them, they're gonna close them all. I said, so if you compromise with the board, you come out better in the long run, and that's what they did, they compromised, and that's why they, we were hoping before New Year's and before Thanksgiving, and they closed Christmas.
Well, I assume you were closed.
Yep, me too.
And the only time we close, even during the winter months, is when the board of selectmen has called and saying, close.
Yeah.
We might limit the staff down and still stay open.
Only time I know we closed was when there's been no power.
Yeah, that was last week, but I had no power last week.
Yeah, I heard. Well, if you open on Wednesday during the holiday, you'd have Brad and Todd.
That's it.
What about Ed?
He doesn't come in till after 4:00.
Mhm.
And lunches, unless they can, it's up to you guys.
Well, you open up at noon, right?
We open up at noon, we usually take lunches around 2:30, 3:00, something like that. And then we do a break towards the evening. We obviously can switch that around, but
Yeah.
just according to what, we're going off what we were told is that, no one guy could be there by themselves.
Right, no, you won't.
Lunchtime happens.
Well, you need to have two anyway, because we run them to recyclables and.
One guy pretty much, the guys rotate, going back and forth out there.
Do you have any prospects on new employees?
Well, I had asked that question before if we were gonna do anything with it, but I never really got an answer. So I don't know, we gonna advertise for it, or we gonna try and fill it, or we not gonna fill it, or?
Yeah, I would be advertising and trying to fill it.
Cause I'll put the sign back up.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh, I thought you had already done that.
Yep.
You were waiting for us?
I brought it forward to Lean in an email, maybe she didn't get my email and asked her what the thought was,
Yeah,
what we
no,
were gonna do.
absolutely, no, you gotta fill
I
that
don't remember
position.
seeing that.
It's the same one I sent you that asked me, I asked about my vacation, what we would do. But, I don't know, I'm asking the questions cause I don't know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, should be trying to fill
I'm
it.
not looking to get anyone in any trouble or
No.
throw anyone on the bus, I'm just asking the question.
So, yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I would try to fill that position.
Absolutely.
And if you have to, try to get part-timers lined up if,
Like I said, I
do it all.
made some calls, I thrown some text messages out to a couple of guys to see what happens, see what, I'm hoping maybe I can get someone to come in on Wednesday, but, if you guys, I'm willing to compromise, and I
I
can
have
talk.
to say, my honest opinion, all things considered, if we don't have anybody that can come in and help out, and if you can't line anybody up, I'm leaning towards closing it on Wednesday, due to the holiday, That way you don't have anybody working unsafely, by themselves, like during a lunch or whatever, you can take your holiday and we don't end up,
Yeah, when the
compounding
rest
the problem
of the town is
down.
closed, I'm surprised
Yeah.
that the transfer station would be open.
I understand there, we could always open up on another day.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, if you wanted to shift it to a different day.
There's another option.
Yeah, for them to come in and do some work too.
Yeah,
I mean, there's another option that might, cause I'm gonna tell you,
Mm-hmm.
you close, people are gonna be
oh
screaming.
yeah, we know.
They're gonna be screaming. So,
Well, it's
there's
also
another
holiday,
option
so-
that, I mean, I can talk with the guys,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be alright with it, is if we rotate,
Mhm.
lunches till a little later.
Mhm.
We'll give them some warning, say, hey, this is what's gonna happen next week,
Even
But
before
lunch
they
it-
get to work.
put lunches out till after, Big Eddie gets there.
Yep.
And then,
As
you know,
long
they
as
could,
it's a break at the 5 hour.
right, you know, they could always,
Mhm. They can do a break in the early afternoon instead.
yeah, could do a little something in between there.
Well, they could even gauge it based on the busyness too.
Exactly.
If they're sitting there, you know, not doing a whole lot, then they just schedule their break, but, I mean, I like your idea too, if you can push
If
it
we
off a
might be able to
bit.
Push it off a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, give them the
5 minutes.
flexibility to adjust based on, you know, activity.
It's just something that has been brought to me by the employees, so I'm bringing it to the board of selectmen, is
Yeah.
that, the employees would like to see us in the future, and even in the present, come up with, right now, there's no incentive for those guys to stay there.
Mhm.
There is absolutely no incentive. And I'm not, I know everything boils down to money. Yeah, they get uniforms,
Mhm.
and they get shoes because it's part of the safety plan.
Mhm.
You know, we don't do any incentives for after 6 months, you know, after their probation. It's not like they get a quarter an hour, they don't get 50 cents, they get nothing after 6 months. The next closest thing they might see is in March of the following year,
CPR.
the CPI
Yeah.
raise. And I'm gonna be frank with you, is, you know, the last employee just left, not because he was unhappy, not because of anything other than money. You know, he got caught, and you're never gonna solve the money thing, but if we can come up with some kind of incentive that makes the employees wanna stay there. You know, I have some guys that, you know, they're really, you know, they're hard workers, they try hard, they're willing to put the effort forward, but there's no incentive, I mean, we don't, you know, the town's talked about doing, raises based on evaluations, you know, maybe that's some way to look forward to, cause you know, you have some guys that put the effort forward big time, and they're working,
Mhm.
you know, I have a couple in particular, they'll give it 110%, but when you look at the other guy who's giving 80%, and at the end of the year, this guy got 1.5, everybody got 1.5, and these guys are busting their hump for 1.5. There's no incentive, and in the scheme of things, it makes a sour employee, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been trying to change the attitude down there for years. We have had a major negative attitude. My trip out west made me see how the rest of the world really is, and people don't act like that.
Mhm.
So these guys, in my aspect of it, I've been trying to change the attitude down there. I'll do little things for them, I bring them in donuts, or, you know, I don't know what the next thing I'll do. You know, I try to give them the positive in anything, even if something's gone wrong, I try to put a positive twist on it. You know, just trying to change the negative attitude, make a better working environment down there. I mean, you look
It's
at
a
it,
tough environment.
it's a
no
tough
question.
environment, and like I
Yes.
said, it's gotten a really negative rap, and I'm trying to change that. But I have this employee issue where you can't keep them, and frankly, one of them pulled me aside and said, hey, I can go, and you're gonna have this regardless, but do you wanna lose somebody who's a tendency to be a decent employee?
Like, what would change?
You know, because there's nothing there, there's nothing, you know, they get nothing.
Mhm.
So, I'm not saying we can change the world tonight, but it's something to think about.
Oh, absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, all things considered.
Yep.
You know, again, it's not gonna be an overnight.
No, and I get that, and they understand that, but they would like to see.
You know, if they've got ideas, I think they should bring those forward too, you know, help us solve the problem too.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I was asked to bring it forward,
Yeah,
so I'll bring it forward, and I'll meet with them, and,
yeah,
you know, any ideas. I mean, I get it, I get money's tight, I get that, but we also spend a lot of money on employees,
Mhm.
just to have them stay for a little bit. We,
No, the turnover is costly, no doubt about it.
Yeah, training people costs money,
Mhm.
absolutely.
so like I said, just something to think about, you know, we are getting close to budget time again, and I just wanted to, like I said, they brought it to me, I'm bringing it to you.
Unfortunately, it's the trials and tribulations of being a small town, you
Yeah.
don't have the resources to become, full-time.
No, and I
All
don't,
that sort of thing, that, make it more lucrative for them to stay,
right, you know, I mean, I know, you guys were talking about Aflac, I don't know how that affects the part-time, but even if,
No, they can join in on
if
that.
something was offered to them, I mean, they get, like I said, they get offered.
That, the part-timers can do Aflac, they can do the, deferred compensation if they wanna, try to start some retirement,
Yeah.
extra retirement. They can do that as well. And so that's all available to them as.
But we haven't officially done anything with Aflac or anything like that.
I have this to discuss tonight,
Okay.
which is a substitute for Aflac.
But I mean, that's
Mm-mm.
that's kinda, you know, a little something for
Let me
them.
throw this side, this is just an idea, and I don't know if it can be done, but, under town governments and, the way cash has to be tracked, but is there a way that, like maybe through the recycling, it could become a bonus thing at the end of the year, be self-funded through the recycling, or some, cause you have certain things that generate a cash flow. Even if you took some percentage of that maybe and created some sort of a, self-funded through that avenue, and it's still tax dollars, I get it.
It is, yeah, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't do something like that.
Is that something we can look at?
Something like that has to go through the payroll tax, and you pay tax.
Yeah, it may, I mean, I'm
Last
sure there's
year,
things to look
He
at,
was
but,
shorthanded and he ended up approaching the board and they decided to do like a minimum hour, you were
Yeah,
here
we
for
did.
that, where they got $25 at the end of, was it weekly or monthly?
It was
No, it was
weekly.
weekly.
It was a stipend,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It was a stipend.
Yeah.
but then that's before we took and adjusted the pay scales, because they
Oh,
were
and
so,
right, but they were so far
below.
behind, right,
Yep,
and
And
then
we
that went
equalized it with
away
everybody else.
after the, town meeting,
No, actually,
First of the-
January first.
January one.
Yep. Yeah, we ended at January, because we knew it would, be changing the pay, well, if, provided it went through the town vote and passed, the pay scales would get changed, plus the CPI, which would be retroactive to January first. That's why we ended it on January first, or
Okay.
December 31st technically.
Right. Like I said, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, I was just thinking of something to be almost self-funded, through,
I mean,
something like that.
it's, I mean, I know it's not the most desirable job out there, but,
No, and I get it that it's a
Yeah, but-
job,
you know,
just something to think about, maybe
Yeah.
just to slow down the revolving, you're always gonna have a revolving door, it's
Yep.
never gonna
Yeah.
change, but if you can slow it down a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Cause training and bringing in new people is expensive.
I mean, new boots,
Yeah,
uniforms all the
everything,
time.
yeah, new uniforms, yeah.
And one other quick thing just to think about is nothing with employees, budget time. Something I seen another town do is, they actually set up an account where it makes your actual operating budget drop. What you do is they set up a fund that all the material that you charge for goes into this fund, and it's paid out of that same fund. It's I forget what you call it, it's a revolving account. Just something to think about. The first year I talked to one of the guys, he's actually retired from a position like that now. He had one of those accounts set up. And basically what they did, the first year you still had to kind of fund it, the first year just to get it off the ground. And then after that, it was pretty much self-funding. Whatever fees you took in, whatever you took in for demo, you pay out. Anything that you charge for goes into that account. When the bill comes in for demo, tires, freon, it gets paid out of that account.
In essence, we do the same thing, basically the money comes in, goes in the general fund, gets paid out of the general fund.
Right, and the difference being
The only
is
difference
that,
is that you're calling it something, you just, you roll a little special
right,
pot.
and the other difference is that, in other words, if these items say total $20,000 or $30,000 in your budget, it's probably more like 10 or 15,000. your budget actually overall is dropped by that $15,000.
Is that how much comes in through the what you take in every
I
year?
would say demo, we always, and this brings up another issue, that's why I'm just throwing out there. Demo has always been a shortfall, always,
Yeah, I
because
would
we
imagine.
allow X amount to come in.
Yeah,
Once you go to, and this is why I say it's just something to think about, once you go to that, then you end up having to charge for everything that comes in. Even if it's just as minimal as $5, you end up charging for it, because you can't afford
Not to.
to have that shortage. So, I mean, I don't know which is the best way to go, but it's something to think about. I don't
so these
know.
other towns take that money that they collect from those fees,
Mhm.
and that goes into the,
It goes
the
into this fund and then
transfer station's fund,
it
and
goes
then
into, right,
reduces your budget.
your budget on the whole drops, cause you're not funding, in other words, I think this year, we'll say it was, like $7,000 or $8,000 a demo.
Yeah.
That $7,000 or $8,000 line is no longer there.
Right.
Well,
But is that something
It's-
that, because it's, you're approving a rate or a charge, like we have public hearings for your fees and rates? Is that something that we have to do at legislative body?
Oh, I'm sure
Or
so,
RSA
yeah.
that we have to
I don't know.
I don't know if
adopt?
there's an RSA.
Well, if it's a revolving fund, I mean, I think that's just more an accounting issue. How we handle it accounting wise. I mean, in essence, it's the same thing we do now. I mean, you charge for tires, it comes, then goes to the general fund. When you pay out for the tire
Out of your
removal,
budget.
it comes out of the thing. You still have to account for it, whether it's your budget or not. So your overall budget's still gonna be the same in essence, because even with a revolving fund, all it's gonna be just, these funds are offsetting this.
Well, they're in a
line items.
separate account, so you no longer have to raise that.
Well, no, you don't, you don't have to raise and appropriate it, but even if you raise and appropriate it, you still have a revolving fund that's covering it. You still have to account for it somewhere. You know,
Right, the money
there'll
comes
still-
in.
There'll still be a budget line item somewhere for those items. And it'll have like a little
I'll look
asterisk
into it a
in it.
little more, I mean, it was just, what it was explained to me seemed like a decent idea, you know, it drops your budget.
Yeah,
And in essence,
Because
uh,
what you're doing is pulling it out of your budget and putting it over here and just saying that these things are being offset by this revenue source.
right, but you're not raising any money from it. The first year you have to try and to get it to go.
it's
After that,
kinda
you're
like
not
that,
raising it.
like Chichester's doing with their, transportation tax. And they're using that money to, they have to, it goes into a general fund, and then at town meeting, they, you know, vote on it, it gets moved over into the, DPW.
Yeah, I mean,
So they're collecting money that way, so I think what you're describing is similar,
in the grand scheme of things, you really aren't changing anything. All you're doing is
just moving it from.
you're just making it look different. It's an accounting gimmick,
Right.
basically. You
Yeah.
still, the money comes in, the money goes out, and you still
Right.
have to account for it.
Yeah, it's more like a, user fee.
Yeah.
Because you do set your revenues, and that revenue is what
Right.
offsets the
Right.
taxes.
Exactly.
I mean, it's still the same,
Or the
I mean, it's
it's
expenses.
just how you're gonna get there from here, which one looks less painful, I think, is,
Exactly,
you know,
that's what, you know, it's perception.
right. Yeah, and $5 per registration or $5 per, you know, barrel of stuff, it seems a lot less painful sometimes than the bigger number.
But I mean, if you look at, as a whole, like, I mean, take last year's budget, for instance, was 212,000. If you take, just for instance, round numbers, and take, just not counting other things that can be dropped down, but take just these particular items and say it's 12,000, so now you're at $200,000. $200,000 to a taxpayer, like me or yourselves,
Yeah.
that's a little easier to swallow than
Oh, absolutely.
200 and more. And
Right,
I think, when you look at it to the residents, and it's a double-edged sword no matter how you look at it, because if you look at the way we do it right now, almost in the grand scheme of things, you're double hitting the people. Even though you have to charge for the stuff, you're almost double hitting them because they're raising and appropriating the money,
yeah.
and when they come in, you charge them for it. That's almost a double whammy.
Yeah. I just always saying, again, it's all perception.
Yeah, it's all how you present it.
But it's just something to think
No,
about.
that's good thinking, yeah.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Okay, I took enough of your time.
Thanks, Woody.
Okay.
So you're taking Wednesday out,
Yeah, I'll do Wednesday, and
holiday?
I'll talk with the guys, and I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, just keep in contact.
Yeah, let me know what she needs.
Yep, I'll let her know as soon as I know.
And start advertising.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Lee, can we put postings up on that New Hampshire Municipal Association?
yeah.
We do. Up on the town webpage.
How do you really feel?
What is
Huh?
this?
How do you really feel? It's nothing,
What is it?
nothing about you though.
Okay.
Alright,
Woody, do we ever, get people who, need to do public service to work over there at the?
We haven't in a long time.
Oh, we
It
have.
comes in, yes, we have, sometimes it comes in spurts, sometimes we have 2 or 3, and then we go 8 months or a year without anyone.
Who, normally coordinates that for you?
Usually the police chief contacts me, if he has someone, but, like I said, it's been,
Could we reach out to Chief Scott and ask?
I'll actually see him probably tomorrow, I can ask him.
Yeah, ask him, yeah.
He, like I said, he usually gets in contact with me if he has someone
Yeah.
that needs, do community service.
Well, I know when we did that thing last summer with the cemetery, that was through, Beckett family, but I don't know if they would, I don't know the situation there for the kind of folks that they had, you know,
I'm
doing
I'm
community
somewhat-
service, but,
Somewhat familiar with them, I know some people there.
yeah, well,
Eric?
Eric Lowe was the one who coordinated with me. So, that's why I was curious.
I should do community service.
you wanna go out of order and send somebody to show up?
Yeah, sure.
Linda, you wanna put you on the
For me?
thing, yep, and now that you're here, I'll take you now, out of order, we'll town business order. Give us the information for the E-Reg.
I didn't expect such a full house, so I only made 3 copies.
Great.
So you guys are, I know. Somebody can figure out how you wanna distribute them.
Let's break up and glue. I don't want that.
My wife registers all the cars, not me. I don't think any of them are in my name.
There's a reason.
Yeah, so when she leaves, she gets everything.
I thought you might find the history helpful in determining how many numbers we're talking about. I don't know if you've already decided what you're going to charge. I don't know if you've had time to discuss it or not.
Well, I have some questions about your document here.
Okay.
What is the first line to prepare and mail notices, what does that mean?
When we use E-Reg, when we go to E-Reg, instead of having the state print those renewal notices for us every month, they print them up, they send them to me, and I send them out from there. Because the state cannot provide PIN numbers, which will be a part of registering
Are you
the
doing it
money.
off your plate number or PIN number?
Do it off a plate number or PIN number. Then if you do it off a plate number, you would have to enter each one separately, where you go under a PIN. You go under your PIN and it just opens up a page and shows all of the vehicles,
okay.
correct?
And the user sets up the PIN number, don't they?
The PIN number is generated by the ClerkWorks program software.
So, but it's done by the user, it isn't provided to them, isn't it?
It's provided to them.
It is, okay.
Yes, they don't make up their own, so it's a random, I'm assuming it's a randomly generated number.
You can have it to people guessing the same number. potentially.
No, that wouldn't work. Okay. So there's something we have to mail? Is that is that what this says?
We send notices every month, so instead of the state generating the notices, I will be generating
So
the
why wouldn't that
notices.
go out electronic or email?
I would have to get everybody's email address in town.
So when in that process of setting it up, maybe the first time you don't have it, but the second time you would have it, because don't they need to use an email address as part of that process?
If they use
remember.
that process, I don't know if they use it, they must have to, I'm assuming they would get a confirmation.
Yeah, cause I remember something in their electronic confirmation, so I'm thinking the first time you'd have to do the paper mailing, but after that, they should just get a notification, I'm thinking.
So what you're saying is you wanna phase out the renewal notices,
Oh, absolutely,
By
they're
mail.
electronic.
okay?
yeah.
Not everybody in town has email.
Well,
They
then they
don't
probably
have
wouldn't
electronic.
be doing electronic
Right,
registration, I'm guessing.
But they would still want the notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some, I mean, I'm sure you
Well,
can
you-
think of people who,
Yeah, if you're not doing it electronically, then yeah, you want the notice, but, I don't know if the webpage gives you the option for electronic notification or paper. I don't recall seeing that on there.
I get a question. The current notice situation that we do now, the state prints them out, sends them to you, you fold them up, put them in an envelope and mail them out.
correct,
So the only difference is the fact that it's 1 cent for paper,
right,
the cost.
right.
Okay, gotcha. So we were already paying the 9 cents for the envelope and the 49 cents for
Right,
postage.
that's just gonna be the prices for the post, and I did look into, postage, from what I could find, it does not look like there's gonna be any postage increases in 2016.
So we're incurring these costs today, the 49, the 9, and the 1?
Not the one, because they.
Not the
sent-
one,
The
right.
49 and the 9 we're incurring today.
Yes, currently we pay.
And
So this is a new check.
besides that,
Alright, this is.
per
new.
mailing, I know, it's just, there's so much
No, that's fine,
information.
that's alright.
But we also spend, about $112 a year, which we pay the state to make up those renewal notices.
Also on top of this is $112, is that in this,
Right.
is
But
that in
that-
this document somewhere? The printing, is that what this is?
Under the current method, right?
Yeah, okay, so that's,
Right, so the second page under the
Alright.
current method,
Yeah.
that's about what it cost us.
so $958 postage, $112 for printing, $176 for envelopes, okay.
And.
And
so-
3 hours of labor.
Yes,
You haven't factored labor into that total cost?
it's, no, I have
No,
not.
okay.
But labor should be, I would think, pretty close to the same.
Right, I mean, the labor will be, when we go to E-Rich,
Mhm.
the only difference will be, instead of the state generating those
Mhm.
notices, I'll have to set up the Clerkworks program
Mhm.
to run the program and then print. So it'll just, the extra time will just be the time it takes to set up
Mhm.
and the time I have to wait for it all to print, and probably
Yeah.
babysit the printer.
You do that
Well,
while
that's-
it's, you know, while
Right,
you're doing something else, I'm sure.
Right.
no, I thought I'd stand there and watch it.
It's always
Your
fun.
choice.
It's always fun, yeah.
And I wanna see which one goes, yeah.
Means and methods, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
It's like,
argue that.
yeah, it's like
See
watching
how long
paint
it
dry.
takes to start over and flowing?
On the second page, you have 1,954 stamps, so I assume that's how many,
That's how I came up with the $958 in postage.
right, but I mean, that's how many that you sent out, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I couldn't, I went from November of last year,
Yeah.
because the November notices have just gone out, so I couldn't tell you history percentage of what the return is or whatever.
Okay.
Oops. Calculator.
And that other for apportioned vehicles and vehicles bypassed, you can disregard that, I just pulled it off a report that the state sent me. So I will use that for my own.
Now the checks, you've got a figure here of 11 cents. Those things are sold by the block of, I forget how many are in a box. so many little bucks.
27, how many?
There's-
27?
No, that's, I'm sorry, that's
The,
the, 1,000.
package, the package, it's 1,000 checks, but it's 500 sheets with 2 checks per sheet.
Right.
This is, I brought a sample for you to see. It comes with a stub.
So it prints, but if you only need one of these,